it's Jen and you're watching The Screening Lady. In this video, we're going to talk about, I think, one of my favorite films for 2020, and it's called Sound of Metal, directed by Darius Marder, starring Riz Ahmed. Basically, it's a pure and simple story about the drummer who starts losing his hearing, and as that's happening, at the end of the film, he gets to enjoy and appreciate life in silence. And I swear to God, for 2020, I feel like the MVP is sound design for saving films this year. To be honest, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was kind of expecting a totally different film. I kind of was thinking it was going to be something like Whiplash meets Mr. Holland's Opus. And I'm just saying Mr. Holland's Opus because it was about music, the son was deaf, but I'm just 100% glad that I was wrong. And actually, this kind of reminded me about this question that I would ask myself when I was much younger. The stupid this or that question. But basically, would you rather go blind or be deaf? And at that time, when I was much younger, writing music and playing music a lot, I couldn't imagine a world without music in it. But Sound of Metal almost literally took me there, and it was an experience. I feel like this film is very immersive, and Riz Ahmed's performance is a conduit to that experience. First of all, this guy, I feel like he is at his best when he's not talking, like when he's literally sitting in silence. This guy just naturally has very expressive eyes, I suppose, because when he's seated, that's when I see a whole range of emotions, whether it was taking a shower and he was in shock about the deterioration of his hearing, to sitting like towards the end of the movie where he was sitting in the park and appreciating everything now. Every time he is silent, that's where he is the best. But apart from that, I feel like I have to give huge kudos to his preparations also. Based on Wikipedia, the whole film just took about 4 weeks to shoot, but his preparation lasted like 6 months, whether it was preparing or learning how to play drums or even learning how to do ASL or American Sign Language. And I think I always appreciate actors who do these sort of things in preparation for their roles. I think that's always admirable. Now we gotta talk about the MVP of the movie, composer slash sound designer Nicholas Becker, who, according to an article from Variety, did a bunch of other complicated soundscapes for movies like Gravity or Arrival, and I'm there reading the article like, of course that makes sense. This genius is doing the same thing for Sound of Metal. And basically, the awesome thing about it is in pre-production. So here's what they did. Before production began, Becker and Marder went into this anechoic chamber that's basically like a chamber that absorbs all kinds of sound so that you're in total darkness and in total silence for 10 minutes. And I feel like it's a good amount of time because any longer than that, I think I would go crazy. But anyway, Becker says that in that experience, they were able to hear their body sounds a lot more. They could hear the blood flowing through their veins, they could hear tendons even, and whether it was a heightened imagination or you could physically hear it, that's the inspiration they got in terms of sound design for this film. And I feel like normally when you portray hearing loss in other films, you'd either, you'd get the feedback from the hearing aid, or you'd get lowered volumes, or even muffled sound, or like even underwater to that effect. But this one, they literally put the volume up in Ahmed's body, basically attaching like super sensitive microphones and stethoscopes so you can hear the sound of his body as his hearing loss continued to get worse. And I think it's a genius way of making us feel like we were losing our hearing also. And that's not even the clincher. This movie didn't need any scoring, like it was very minimal, and it really wanted to make us feel like we are going deaf. But for the few times that we did hear scoring, it was from a literal Sound of Metal as well. They were using this rare instrument called crystal basset. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's basically, it kind of looks like an organ, but it's made of metal. And you have to play it with wet fingers so that the outcome is, it felt like metallic and melodic in a way. And in my reality, I feel like this is where they got the inspiration in the title of Sound of Metal. I think this movie is a sensorial experience. It's a story, alright, but It's a story done for the pleasure of our ears and not always just our eyes. Riz Ahmed's performance is incredible. The sound design is amazing, and I thought it was gonna be a movie about music, but in the end, it's still about life and acceptance in general. I recommend watching this movie with headphones on. I feel like it's just gonna take you to a different zone. And as always, thank you for staying this long. Like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!